Remember, this entire manga and every manga on this channel is hand-drawn by myself, and now you too can learn exactly how to make your own viral Dragon Ball mangas at www.makemanga.com, where you can learn directly from me. My mangas have got me on TV, on newspapers, and even earned me over $60,000 a month on Patreon alone. And now, you can click the link in the description and pinned comment of this video and do it yourself. You only need to see the website to see just how many thousands of you are taking this opportunity right now. And don't forget also, the next video to this Ultra Vegito series has already been made and is live now on my Patreon right now for over 4,500 of you incredible fans to watch after this. Again, links are in the pinned comment and description. Enjoy. So our story continues with the lifeless body of Ultra Vegito, laying motionless and near soundless, a stark contrast to his once vibrant self, now lying hauntingly silent on the cold ground. Completely exhausted from his battles and trials that he faced in the last few chapters, especially from his most recent climactic showdown with Dai, having sapped every ounce of his vigor. With closed eyelids, hiding eyes, once filled with fiery determination, the consequences of that fierce battle become clear. His defeat all but confirmed now. And amidst this silence, an indication of his weakening state becomes prominent as a foamy stream of saliva, thick and persistent, trickles slowly from the corner of his mouth, accumulating into a small, sorrowful pool. Woo! Dai, you won! That was so fun! He nearly had you for a while. I was worried. As meanwhile, the Omni King would be up in arms, wholly overindulged in excitement after witnessing the greatest battle he had ever seen in all his eons of watching over the multiverse. Worried for me? I'm flattered, my lord, but you did seem to cheer on our little friend quite a bit. Maybe a little too much. As Dai, now seemingly back to full health and stronger than ever, having absorbed all of Vegito's Lucif-infused energy, just as he had threatened earlier, would stand with demonic energy still trailing and leaking out of his two crimson diamonds. Oh, I was only playing. It's just that he had so much green energy. He kept his promise. As Zeno, none the wiser about the slight changes in Dai's appearance, would then look back to the fallen god killer and question, so, now that the game is finished, are you really going to send him away? Or are we keeping him? But nonchalantly, as if completely unconcerned now with the mortal who had just given him such a great fight, the angel would just turn his head looking around at the surroundings and say, I think I'd rather let that Saiyan suffer a little more after all he's done. A quick death would be no justice. Besides, don't you think we have some more pressing matters? Look at this place. It hasn't been this bad since the first multiversal tournament. Before Zeno would reply to Dai saying, oh yeah, you guys went really crazy during that last bit. I guess I never stopped to look around to see what it was doing. To which Dai would just reply, "You truly are fixated on battle, aren't you, my lord? Have a look now." As when we would pan around, the level of destruction would be real, with there being all but a small fragment left in one piece of the once vibrant divine mushroom, with no palace anymore left in sight. Uh-oh, that's not good. To which Zeno, finally realizing, would begin to reflect on the consequences of his game, inquiring as a sweat drop would fall. "If my palace is gone, where am I sleeping tonight? Where am I playing? This isn't good at all, Dai." Before suddenly, something even more important would come to the childlike deity's mind, as he would say, "Oh, and where is my throne? That's my favorite chair. I didn't even realize that that was destroyed as well." But in response, the father of all angels would seem hardly bothered, as quickly raising his blackened arm into the air with a smile, he would comfort the Omni King. "No need to worry, my lord. I built this place once many years ago, and I can build it again. Most likely, several times faster, with the way I am now." Before zooming in on his face, as his countenance becomes shadowed by a growing light, he finally would then let out, "Behold! All things this damn mortal ruined will be reset, starting with our realm, just the way you remembered it, my lord." And indeed, from the palm of his dark hand, a bright, all-encompassing divine light would shine in all directions, almost hiding the destruction and flaws of the surrounding landscape. As a giant blast of this holy energy would then shoot straight into the heavens themselves, as everything from the land to Zeno, and even the God Killer included, would then be lost completely within the flash of light, until nothing would be seen anymore for a few deathly silent minutes until, just like that, the entirety of the divine mushroom on which Zeno's entire realm surrounded and his palace sat upon would be revived completely, with no sign of damage, as if birthed from the soil just moments ago. And of course, in the middle, at the very top, the Omni King's abode would remain. On the battlefield, no more sign of Dai, Zeno, or Vegito. I take it you're pleased, my lord. Everything should be as it once was, including your beloved throne. Leaving Dai now pleased with himself, seemingly within the palace walls, pointing towards the back of the building, where the throne would be brought back to. As the now overjoyed Zeno would commend his angel attendant, saying, "Impressive, Dai! You weren't kidding! That was way faster! It's just how it used to be! You even made my throne cooler!" "Huh? Your throne?" But just as Zeno would mention a somehow different throne, Dai would be quick to look, and what he would see would absolutely shock him to the core. What in the name of Akubel? As when Dai would look from a distance, not only would Zeno's chair be visible several times larger, black and red in color instead of gold and purple, the colors of Zeno, but adorning each side would be a pair of devilish wings. And when we would zoom in, its ominous appearance would seem even darker, ornamenting a fleshless skull with dual horns that surely does not belong to any ordinary mortal. Just what has Dai created, and for who? Whoa! I wonder how it feels. But regardless, the ecstatic Zeno would run to the strange chair full of intrigue, his eyes and mouth wide open. As the closer he gets, he would yell, "Whoa! It's even bigger up close! Dai, this is..." Before then jumping quickly onto the seat and carrying on, "So cool!" As the small god, looking completely out of place, would then scream to his angel attendant in joy, despite how dwarfed he would now appear from the sheer size of this ominous throne. What is going on here? But even with the initial harmlessness of the situation, the idea of Dai making such an unexpected mistake to create something so deliberately detailed would leave the angel bemused, as he would wonder internally, "In all my years, I have never experienced something like this. That design, I created that monstrosity? But how?" Before Dai would then look deep into the black palm of his own hands and finally remembers the changes that he's gone through, commenting, "It must be Lucif's energy. It will take some time for it to return to its original angelic state. But how is it causing changes without my consent?" As while he would look closer and closer into his palm, he would open and close it just to re-verify his control over his own limbs. But while Dai would be worrying, Zeno would curiously have a sad face despite his cool new chair. And after looking over at the God Killer, he would say to the attendant, "Hey Dai, so what about Vegito now? You're not really going to get rid of him, are you? That was so much fun. The most fun I've had in so long. I really like Son Goku. Don't you think we could do this again one day? Another show?" And as if clinging onto this final hope to be spared, Vegito would briefly begin to open his eyes and try to listen in. My lord! But ultimately, after all he has been through, this would be the last thing the Grand Priest would want to hear or discuss, as trying to keep his cool as a redness encroaches over his face, Dai would begin explaining. "The mortal before you, my lord, if this creature had managed to best me in this game of yours, if he had managed to kill me, he would have brutally killed you next. You understand that, right? This Vegito is no Son Goku. And Son Goku is not who you remember. To which the naive Zeno would just mutter, Son Goku wanted to kill me? Before in a quick, immature turn, the small child would just smile and yell, So what? I can protect myself, you know. I can fight. I'm just never allowed to. I probably look really cool when I do too. Cool like Jiren! As comedically, the truly delusional, vertically challenged god would then imagine himself in complete Pride Trooper uniform, the same build as a certain Jiren the Grey. My lord! But on hearing this, Dai would instantly get second-hand embarrassment, face-palming, as he would explain further. Allow me to remind you, my lord, there is a reason why, unlike most gods, you walk around with not just one angel attendant, but 3, and at all times. You know already the structure of the god hierarchy on our realm. How destroyers travel with their very own angel. Angels who far surpass them in power, yet are bound to follow their orders. Because just like you, destroyers have the ability to erase any angel with their Hakai. But in actual battle power and fighting prowess, they are mere children in comparison. They are the angels' students after all. These angels, however, by the law of the higher gods, are sworn to never attack their destroyer nor disobey, under the ever-persistent consequence of instant erasure. Just like that poor fool, Whis, experienced not too long ago. And the same applies to you and I, and the gods you once had. Your power is near infinite, able to erase entire universes, let alone just me. But when a threat approaches, from wherever it is mine and the gods' abilities that will stand in your place and deal with any physical danger. You are as vulnerable as you look, my lord, and for the safety of the multiverse, I would implore you to remember that. Before raising his hand once again into the sky, with a smile, the Grand Priest would add, Fortunately, such dangers never truly reach your feet, however. With protectors such as me and the gods, you live a life of true protection, and there will never be any risk of your harm while we are around. Which is why, next on my list is to recreate Z and S. They won't be the same two we know, but with my new powers, I'll be sure to make their successors twice as powerful. Before with another almighty flash of light, the area around Dai's hand would begin to unleash an unyielding shining luminescence once more. Twice as strong? As immediately, Zeno would be left to then look on in puzzlement as 2 energy formations would begin to contort and take shape into what would presumably be an all-new and improved ZNS. Ooh, they certainly do feel way stronger. strange. As looking from side to side, the lights would get brighter and brighter, with even the Omni King being able to detect just how strong these two new guards would be. Whoa! Cool! As in a truly unbelievable and unsettling scene, the miniature Dai would stare on at two new guards, but ones who do not resemble Z and S in any way, not even in color, as the two horned giant warriors would be drenched in red and black armors, their horns vicious and skulls adorning their belts that match mysteriously with the one attached to Zeno's strange new throne. Just who and what has Dai summoned? What is going on? Who are they? They look like... This turn of events, of course, leaving the Grand Priest more shocked than anybody, his eyes simply not being able to conceive what he is looking at, as he immediately realizes these are no divine guards of his making, but more of the demon realm. Dai? Are these really Z and S? They aren't saying much. While a now slightly worried Dai, getting a little scared by the cold, dead stares of his supposed guards, would form a sweat drop as he would address his attendant for insurance until... In a shock transition, the previously silent and unmoving statues of guards would immediately make a move each suddenly, cocking back their powerful fists and turning towards each other, straight for the skull of the small Zeno in the middle of them, neither uttering a sound, but their killer intent would paint 1,000 words. Lord Zeno! No! Get away, you demons! As the one true angel, the sworn protector of the Omni King, would then launch into action, rightly so, his super speed potentially allowing him to save the childlike god just in time. At least that may have been a possibility, if not for Dai suddenly then finding himself frozen still, as a mysterious yet familiar black lightning would then suddenly cover Dai entirely. What is this? Move! Leaving the lightning-clad deity now just forced to watch, unable to do a thing before... Zeno! All he can do in one final shout is yell out the name of his lord. Dai! What's happening? As Zeno, in his last moments, would just panic, never having been unprotected like this, and never having been in such a position until... Dai! You did this! Until ultimately, all that would cover the screen now would be an explosion of blood. A god's blood. Like a watermelon being crushed in a press. And though we could not see this violence ourselves, as the blood of Zeno would splash straight onto Dai's face, his look would say it all. Zeno! This cannot be real! as with his eyes wide open, a crackle in his voice as his entire being would start to tremble, he would only be able to think, "What did I do? Did I do this?"
No, dear brother. We did.
As finally, the major consequence of harnessing all of the devil's power from Vegito would turn up, as within Dai's consciousness, Lucif would be alive and well, and for some reason, now talking with an air of confidence, as he would continue,
Look at what you just did, my dear little brother. Wasn't it your sworn oath to protect him? Didn't you create those gods who just annihilated him? Look at him die. Look at him!
As in a shocking sight, we would then see what was left of the Omni King. His head completely exploded as a volcano of blood shoots out of his frail body. Still in a sat position, the youngster god did not even have time to react. Almost like he just expected for his guards or Dai to protect him as always. As soon enough as the two demonic guards tilt his throne, as if not to stain it with Zeno's blood, the Omni King would be tossed off onto the ground like a mere piece of trash. Zeno! And even Vegito, seeing this, would be so full of shock, even he would find some energy deep within to express his ultimate surprise at what would be going on around him. Lucif! You did this! Not me! But how? What is happening? But the shocks would continue to come to the poor angel, as soon he would realize his body was in the process of disappearing and erasing before his very own eyes.
I didn't do anything, Dai! This is your body, remember? I'm merely your hostage, as you so often kept telling that mortal. And what you just did with your body was go against your god and kill him! You know what that means for an angel, don't you? You just explained it to him moments ago! Instant erasure!
No! And as this would happen, in full view now taking over his body, in sheer disbelief, as his whole being falls apart, Dai would only question, How could you control me? No demon can control the pure heart of an angel! It is written!
Pure heart! Just how deluded have you become over the years I've been away, little brother? Have you not realized? You have grown to become even more evil than I!
As Lucif, now just beginning to giggle demonically, would revel in his siblings' destruction. As Lucif, now spreading his arms in Dai's final seconds of life, would just continue.
Tell me, brother, just how many horrors do you think you have committed against that mortal over there? Let alone countless others in your time. You may be many things, Die, but pure of heart is not one of them. Neither of us are. We're birds of the same feather. You, all along, were the true vessel for me. The evil that secretly grew within the multiverse to harbor my return was never the God Killer. It was always you!
As behind the demonic overlord, memories of the atrocities Die himself had committed and condoned all would be shown in full view. And now, with a defeated tone, as he finally leaves this realm for nothingness, Die's last whisper would be, I was the vessel! Before eventually now being completely erased away, and only leaving behind the two shining bright diamonds that existed on his forehead and chest. Both a violent red, polluted by the very energy he had taken from Lucifer, which ultimately would remain behind, given Lucifer himself was no angel attendant of Die. And it wouldn't be long before the demon-filled objects would begin to transform and merge slowly with one another, slowly taking shape and expanding as various limbs would sprout forth, a demon eye opening and a certain muscular body then beginning to finally set foot back on the mortal realm, and for the first time in millennia.
Oh, how I missed this!
As finally, the return of Lucifer, the chosen devil of the demon realm, returns back to the land of the gods and mortals, free at last, and now with nobody left at all to stop him. All thanks to Ultra Vegito, the God Killer, as he would now stand in his full, hideous form, dual-horned, dual-demon-eyed, with splatterings of lesser eyes all over his body. Eyes which one can only think belong to his strongest victims.
It is finally done.
As Lucifer, now taking awe at his physical manifestation, observing his muscular vein-filled arm, would then talk to the only other being left on the battlefield, saying,
You've won, Vegito. Your mission is complete. All gods who forsake you are now finally dead. How does it feel?
As on hearing this proclamation, this truthful proclamation, Vegito's eyes would burst even wider than before, his heart racing as he battles with the idea of his quest finally being over, but at what cost? As he would mumble, Lucifer, he's back! What does this mean? Was this his plan all along? But Vegito wouldn't be the only one confused, as only soon after, Lucif would notice something change in the environment and atmosphere, commenting,
"What's this now? Die! Did you prepare some sort of trap for me?"
As when we would get a look at what Lucif would be seeing, the surrounding area would have gone dark. As continuing his confusion, a bright yellow energy would then soon begin to emerge from above, as if from thin air, creating a giant pressure that pushes down on Lucif. With his level of power, it would hardly even make a difference to him. As suddenly, with a huge roar, in front of Lucif would be Zalama, the eternal dragon of the Super Dragon Balls, now seemingly summoned from the instant of Zeno's game being over, and the victor being chosen as Vegito. But Lucif, who seemingly cannot even remember why the dragon would be involved at all, would just look to it nonchalantly with his arms folded and think,
"Zalama! What madness is this? Don't tell me. With all the gods gone, this dragon god is their last chance saloon at defeating me? How pathetic."
But just as Lucif would rashly begin to think the great dragon had appeared as some kind of opponent, Zalama's eyes would flash immediately. The kind of flash which grants a wish. Before just like that, the dragon would turn back to energy and separate into 7 different directions, taking the Super Dragon Balls which made up its being to all over the multiverse yet again.
A wish? What for?
Leaving the Demon Lord stunned, as he would wonder what the purpose of Zalama's appearance would even be. Ugh! Energies! I can sense their energy! Gohan! Goten! Trunks! All while Vegito nearby would immediately know what had just happened, as almost as if having been subconsciously searching for his fallen son's energies ever since they died, the minute they would return would be the minute Vegito would immediately detect their presence. As suddenly as if Zalama also gave one additional parting gift to the God Killer, Vegito's damaged, exhausted body would then find itself being coated in a mysterious yellow energy similar to the dragon's. His legs, his arms, and his head and torso. Until finally, with his whole body covered in this healing aura, Vegito would once again struggle to his knees, not completely re-energized, but just enough to perhaps escape and fight another day. As Vegito would comment, "That dragon, that god, helped me!" Before quickly following the wish, a view of planet Earth would be visible once again in its full blue and green glory. Huh? Whoa! We're back! Gohan, what happened? I don't know, Mr. Piccolo. Huh? Trunks? That was weird. You can say that again. As in a truly jaw-dropping scene that we have all been waiting for, along with Vegito. The Z-Fighters are finally brought back and revived. Their destruction at the hands of the destroyers finally undone after over a decade. They're definitely back. Zalama. He stayed true to his word. And back with the God Killer, despite the return of Lucifer, a smile could only form on his face, as he would now regain balance and be on the verge of getting onto his feet. But not before Lucifer himself would notice the energy-clad mortal rising from practically death's door. As with a confused look initially, his arms still folded, you would think.
Now what is this? The dragon appears, and now the God Killer is back in high spirits. Something has gone on here. Oh, I see.
Before, with a smile and closing his eyes, it would seem the demon would finally realize what had just happened, commenting,
That little wager they had on the battle. If I remember correctly, if Dai was defeated, a wish would be made to bring back all that were erased. How cute. Good for him. A fitting reward for bringing about my return.
before Lucifer would then swiftly turn around and start walking away, saying ominously under his breath,
A shame. It will only be short-lived.
before eventually we would see his view of his target, the throne, which we now know was also designed by him, along with the two guards that now act as his servants also. As before we know it, the great demon would finally take his seat.
How I have dreamt of this feeling! To finally sit above all as the Omni King!
As taking his place on the throne that once belonged to Zeno, comfortable, like he had always belonged there. Lucifer, the chosen devil of the demon realm, would now successfully stake his claim as the new Omni King of Universe 1 to 12. The reign of the gods may be over, but an entirely new nightmare, far worse, has just begun.
Now, time to make this place feel a little bit more like home.
As suddenly, without warning, the giant demon would then lift his hand into the air in a similar fashion to his late brother until... Suddenly, coated in a dark red aura, Lucifer would blast into the sky a massive beam of energy that would blast through the ceiling and out of sight into orbit, all with an insidious smirk. Lucifer, what are you doing? And as the entire scene would turn tinged with red, Vegito included, the God Killer would shout out wondering what the purpose of this strange attack would even be. And as we would look from afar, outside of the divine mushroom, like a virus spreading, hundreds, if not thousands of energy beams would shoot out all over and past the ends of the realm. With Lucifer just continuing to blast with a smirk and saying, "What am I doing?" I would have thought the answer would be obvious, considering just how many times these gods tried to warn you.
What I'm doing, Fragile Saiyan, is bringing this realm under the control of its new ruler. The first order of the day is annihilation of all you pathetic mortals.
What? Instantly shocking Vegito, as he realizes quickly that just after bringing his family back, they would now be under grave danger once again. As looking on at planets far off in different universes, some of the beams come shooting down from the sky on a familiar planet. What is that? As we would then see the panicked face of a Yardratian, watching on as several beams crash to the ground, creating a sphere of raging red aura that doesn't seem to fade until... slowly, a dark foot would step out. And once fully made out, what would be seen could only be described as a low-level demon, fresh out of the demon realm. But not just that. Behind him, several others would follow, an entire army of endless demons invading Yardrat. And the same would be said for all planets all over the 12 universes, as all over the multiverse, mortals would be set upon by these dark demonic creatures, slaughtering them by the millions, just as Lucifer had commanded. A bloody war had now just been waged on all mortals, and one seemingly far worse than any the gods Vegito fought so hard to get rid of ever would have brought upon them. And unfortunately, what would be happening all over the multiverse would not leave Earth immune, as Gohan, suddenly in the midst of his shock of his return to the living world, would be first to sense the impending danger that he would now face. Guys! Behind you! As warning the rest of the Z Fighters, Gohan would quickly turn, and in front would be yet again hundreds of energy beams, filled to the brim with demons ready to take over Earth.
And so, it begins.
As Lucifer, with a dark and devilish confidence, as if this had been planned for centuries, would go on to say to Vegito, "I must really thank you, God Killer. Now that
the devil, has made it from the demon realm to the mortal realm, an untold blasphemy. The barrier in between the two realms has finally broken, Being the ruler now of both realms, this will allow me to fuse the two. And with no members of the 5 strongest left to watch over the demon realm and prevent their arrival, I can finally bring my little friends over to keep me company. Thank you for everything!
Before Lucif would then slowly lift up his palm to face Vegito, another eye hidden within as he would callously reveal,
But though you have my thanks, it is time you were sent down to where an evil like you truly belongs. After all, there can only be one God Killer in this realm.
as immediately, like the realm had a mouth of its own, a dark portal would open straight under the legs of the unsuspecting God Killer. Lucif! Don't do it! As Vegito, himself sensing where this would be taking him, would immediately begin falling, unable to escape as the portal seemingly sucks him down with ferocity and nullifies what little energy he even had left. Damn you! And within moments, all our hero would see is pitch blackness all around, falling to what could possibly be his ultimate death, as the small portal behind him would then eventually close for eternity.
What a cruel end! But no different to how I met mine all those years ago. Fear not, God Killer. Maybe in a few million years, you can repeat history and come for my head as I did Zeno's. I'll be waiting.
Before Lucif would then turn to his guards and swiftly command,
Come, let us get away now from this damn mushroom. This is no place for an Omni-King, let alone a devil.
And just like that, all three, including the throne on which Lucif sat, would vanish completely, leaving behind nobody on the once land of Zeno. And for a while, as expected, there would just be silence over the area. Silence until where Vegito once was, where he once drooled out a frothy saliva, the liquid would begin to subtly move about, beginning to separate and then eventually split into 2 globules of spit that would then begin to expand, growing and growing until, shockingly, from Vegito's spit, just like he initially spat them out in the Pyramid of Power, and in the final battle, Goku and Vegeta would reform and exist in the mortal realm once more, even if Vegito no longer does. There may be some final hope for the multiverse after all, but the question is, will they wake up in time? And we would hope that they would, as when we revisit Earth, it would already be a total battlefield, with Piccolo, Gohan, Tien, Krillin, Yamcha, Chaozu, and even the fused Gotenks fighting off an endless army of demons which seem to be coming non-stop. For now, their powers are able to defeat these levels of foes, but with their sheer number, eventual fatalities would be inevitable. Leading to Piccolo, in his wisdom, realizing this and yelling,
Gohan! There's too many of them! We need to regroup at Kami's lookout! We shouldn't make the same mistake twice!
No, Mr. Piccolo! But Gohan defiantly, now the pseudo-leader of Universe 7's forces, after his role in the Tournament of Power, would just reply, the Earth was only just brought back! These people have been through enough! I'm not letting them get destroyed again by these freaks too! Guys! I think we have more trouble on the way! But interrupting, it wouldn't be long before Krillin would notice the arrival of a strange black portal opening in the middle of the battlefield. Large in size, big enough for more than just one new opponent to walk out of. As eventually, a lone foot would begin to emerge. I don't like the feeling of this! This one's strong, Gohan! As Piccolo instantly, sensing the danger, would then get into fighting stance. Fear not, warriors of Universe 7. As shockingly, emerging from this strange portal would be Hit, the assassin of Universe 6, walking out of what must actually be a time portal, given his secret acquiring of a new time ring a few chapters ago. As he would address the Z-Fighters and continue, I have prepared reinforcements for this eventual moment. You can thank Son Goku and Vegeta. As suddenly, two more pairs of feet would then begin to emerge. Ones that may be familiar to us, but thoroughly unfamiliar to the warriors of Universe 7.
What? Those are...
But regardless of their eventual arrival, Piccolo would be left completely stunned with who and what he would see. As finally, revealed out of the time portal would be none other than King Vegeta in a Super Saiyan 4 God form, and Bardock equipped with a mysterious blindfold. Two warriors familiar to CALLMEARJ subscribers from the VE universe. But these two warriors would not actually be from there, but instead from a timeline that Vegito had visited in the past. One where, if we all remember, he had imparted the knowledge of the Saiyan transformation. As King Vegeta, looking on at the surroundings and destruction, would just comment,
So this is where that Vegito fellow came from. Hard to believe. A Saiyan could grow so strong on such a weak planet.
As Bardock with a smile would say,
I don't know. This seems like a nice place to live. I wouldn't have minded sending Kakarot or Raditz here. At least, they would have been safe.
But the arrival of the two legendary Saiyans from an alternate timeline would ultimately be cut short, as the scene would now take a dark twist to a barren and lifeless area. Never before seen in the UV manga, as red sands coat the landscape and thunder crashes from the sky among the dead trees. It would be unclear why we would even be looking at any of this until suddenly, bursting from the ground like a dead man rising, a gloved hand would emerge before a dark-haired figure would struggle his way out little by little before Lucifer, this is not over! And with vengeance on the God Killer's face, once more, Ultra Vegito would be revealed. Still alive, but in a new foreign land. The land of the demon. But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag Season 2 in the comments down below and let me know just what terror has befallen Earth now, let alone the multiverse. Or just find out what happens right now on my Patreon, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked and edited for you to enjoy with over 4,500 plus other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.